Good morning, summer. It's still morning here in Chicago, but at least it's melting.
It's dry here in well, I'm lying. It was raining this morning. But it's no longer snow. Snow is not a thing.
Good.
Hey, you guys.
We're
It's another
still,
episode.
even though it seems like the country is oh yes, the Summer and Cynthia show. Even though the country is now, we are living in a little bit of a calmer pace. You don't feel like there's a headline that's going to defy your sense of reason and logic and decorum every single day like we had for the past 4 years. But still, there's a lot happening in lives. And then there's just a lot of people sort of thinking that, I don't know what, common sense has left the room because they're trying to sell you on things and they're trying to sucker you on things and make you feel, I don't know, maybe just take advantage of people at their most vulnerable. And I hate that. I hate that.
Right. I think some people are operating from that old adage of there's a sucker born every minute. And even if that is the case, and if it is true, why do we feel the need to capitalize off that?
Right.
So today's conversation was inspired by a recent Cosmopolitan article. I went into the old school me back in high school days. I used to, right? Cosmo was the Bible. But anywho, I stumbled across this article that was talking about a new phenomenon that has become a thing in the last year, specifically with the pandemic, lockdown, massive layoffs, and unemployment numbers. But there's a new thing called money manifestation. Well, as someone who believes words mean things and do have power as well as thoughts, I thought this was particularly interesting. And so I continued to read through, and the article highlights some known women who are the main drivers and influencers who have built a business around such a phenom, if you will. And it's really the basis of, and I'm haven't taken anyone's courses or enrolled in any program, but from what I'm gathering, it is the idea and the practice of, if you think positively about money, it will appear. And when I was having this conversation with Cynthia a few days ago, to me, I automatically thought of, remember, ladies, how when we were young and naive, we at night, or maybe it's just me, I'm gonna talk about me. That's not too general, but I wanted bigger boobs. So I would do I must increase my bust thing. And I thought that would work. And so not only is this preying upon people who are at their most vulnerable mentally, as well as just physical situations and circumstances. You may have lost your job. Money is definitely scarce. And so there's just the act of one asking one to pay to be a part of this culture, family, program, whatever you want to call it. And then two, the idea of this money that you have invested. I'm sure they use that a lot, that word invested, and investment. That by doing so, money will appear in your future. Also reminds me of prosperity gospel a little bit. Cynthia, I
Yes.
see you
Yes.
dying to jump in. Hop in,
Yes.
girl.
This is where your grandma's old adage is: everything that you're ever taught by whoever the most ethical person in your family is or was, all that glitters is not gold. Yes, there's a sucker born every minute. If wishes were horses, beggars would ride. Not, there are people out there who are going to try to sell you on things that are absolutely unachievable, unattainable, and they've been around forever. I mean, this is sort of nothing new, but it's much glossier, and it's done by people who are better actors because they can sit and edit their video for this program thing, and any money that they get in is theirs. Don't we get the feeling as though we've sort of lived through 4 years of the flim flam man, the uh,
Snake oil.
snake oil. There's trouble in River City. I mean, there are news sites, there are news sources there are certainly entities that cover the charitable giving world that rate them according, GuideStar is one of them. So if you're giving to a charity, often go through GuideStar just to make sure that the money is going in the places where it needs to be and not for administration. And
Right.
there is no financial advisor who is going to guarantee you returns on your investment. And there is no financial advisor who will say that you need to give them money up front just in terms of fees.
Boom. I was just going to say,
Financial literacy.
women are not financial advisors, number one. So yes, thank you for saying that, Cynthia. Go ahead.
So this country, the young people and old people, everybody could use a lot more financial literacy. It's a little sad. I mean, Susie Orman was a little over the top, and she did have a fascinating array of leather jackets and a really interesting haircut, but she taught financial literacy if you just paused long enough to listen to what it was she was saying. And a lot of what she was saying is, no, money does not grow on trees, and somebody can promise you that you're going to get the return, but chances are you're never going to see that person again. They're going to take off with your money. So
And I have more of a problem with, it's one thing if you have the means, because some of these programs, they range anywhere from $250 to another one that they reference was like 2,200. And if you are one who is strapped for cash and enduring a hard time, that's a lot of money, even at the $200 price point. Would you give your last or second to last $200 to a person who is saying that they can somehow help you manifest more money? There's just something predatory about that that I just can't get with. You know, if you're on your second to last or last $200, I would not advocate you investing in some type of program or person that is claiming to do that, because it's inevitable. In the end, you go through the motions, and usually the results are not going to be in your favor. You're not going to walk away all of a sudden.
I think you're being very generous by saying usually. So anyway, the basics comes down to no, nobody makes, this is not how people make money. This is not how wealthy people get even richer. They just go ahead and manipulate the tax code. So that's our discussion of finances and the sort of the predatory, keyword predatory, influences that are out there right now. And as much as you are concerned about your own situation or the situation of a loved one, there is no reason in the world why you should take a mental trip to Las Vegas and move your entire life savings onto one number, because your chances actually of a return on Vegas on one number are greater than sending your money to these charlatans.
Exactly.
All right, that's that.
That's that.
It's been a busy week in Summer's world, though, and we've got some updates on her family. My family is all well. We're doing fine, and it's a small family, and we've got one in Minneapolis, one in New York, and we're here in Chicago, but everyone's doing fine.
Good.
And I'm also glad that we have conversations about both your aunt, because this is for viewers, for repeat viewers. We have progress. COVID related 81-year-old COVID pneumonia in California, which was she was hospitalized when California was at its fullest, and then also Summer's mother-in-law. So tell us where you're coming from here, your busy week.
Let's start with Aunt Chrissy, who we love out in LA. Again, just by textbook definition, she had all the odds stacked against her. Black woman, anyone, pre-existing conditions, contracts COVID pneumonia in the hospital for 4 weeks. And like Cynthia just mentioned, this was during when LA was and really Southern California was super strict about, well, they're at hospitalization capacity. So at that point, it was kind of a gamble or a lottery almost of who would get admitted into the hospital just because of capacity issues. And the fact that they found that my aunt was deemable of surviving, they admitted her, because that was a lot of the questions back then. So fast forward, she's home. I mentioned that on a past episode. But even better news is I spoke to her last night. She called me and we had a great conversation. It was only 14 minutes, but it was the best thing in the world. And when I say people, she is a fighter. She is so strong, and I just love her to the moon and back. It helped me just feel better about her progress. She's got a long road to of recovery, but my God, she is here. And I had a
Mhm.
conversation with her yesterday.
Mhm.
So that's some fantastic news. And every day we just take it day by day and just be grateful for that. And I will also like to segue over to my mother-in-law, Sue. Love you. And it's been a journey of just, we are just starting the journey. We've discovered some things. I mentioned she had surgery to remove a mass in her pancreatic area, and that has been removed. We did a biopsy to examine it. However, a few days ago, we found out it was malignant. And at this point, we assume we've gotten all of it out. The question is, what is to remain and what happens? So, in a few days, we are going to have a conversation about the pathology report, look up some oncology. And I hesitate just slightly because I'm sure my husband's like, why am I telling people? And I just share a lot of this because, life is going on around us.
It is.
And I am just hoping by me sharing what I'm going through with my loved ones that A, you can relate on some level of knowing you're not alone, or maybe this is you,
Mhm.
the person itself going through things.
Mhm.
It's an interesting journey because when I was talking with my mother and I had this conversation with Cynthia, or my aunt, I'm sorry, it is that it was the conversation themed in I seen God, I believe God, and I am here. And she's proof that miracles can happen, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And on the other hand, my mother-in-law is at that crossroads of why me? And there's nothing wrong with questioning that.
Right.
I don't know what it's like to have that type of that type of diagnosis, and news is what the word I was looking for. Um, and so it's just I'm just so grateful to have these women in my life, and the journey continues for both.
Mhm.
They're two different walks, and they're on two different sides of their journey, but it nonetheless it's still one. And so I just ask that you continue to uplift them. And if you or someone is going through the same, I uplift your people and you as well. And just, life is precious.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah. That's where I'm at.
I totally feel for your situation. The fact that you can't even put a date on a calendar for you to go to LA to see your aunt, to hold her hand, to give her that hug. I mean, now that she's had the disease and had the virus, all you need to do is get vaccinated, but that's another whole bureaucracy. So
Long
you've
line.
got miles to go before you can just go and be in her presence. And,
Yep.
and the things that you can do creatively do and with your cousin and support your cousin still in all of this is it weighs on your soul on top of just everything else that's going on and the headlines that are perhaps not quite as crazy as they used to be, but still, this is a very difficult time for everybody.
It is.
Your
It is.
mother-in-law being a little bit more in that learning curve. That fear is partly not knowing what to expect. And so the next couple of weeks, your heart is open. Your whole family is vulnerable. Just
Yep.
think about steadying yourself and not knowing. It's that same place that you were in just not too many weeks ago with your aunt.
Correct.
And we have discussed a little bit the fact that we lost three parents in the course of 15 months. The learning curve had sort of been exhausted prior to that. So by the time they were all in very frail states, we kind of understood what was happening. But still, boom, 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 15 months, and you're depleted.
Yeah.
And you have all this knowledge, and you've chronicled every single step of their situation and their condition, and you've had to be strong for them and hold their hand. It's a challenging time. It's part of the generation that we are in.
Yep.
And some people are fortunate. I've got a couple of friends whose mothers just got their vaccination, the second one of two, and they feel like they've hit an open field. And celebrating a 93-year-old woman who's been vaccinated and is still has all of her spirit and spunk and vitality. So we have to celebrate the human condition, whatever state it's in today, right now. Make that call to the loved one. I should probably give my 90-year-old aunt a call. I'll be the first to say, she's in another state, she's got kids, it's all fine. But I think we've learned that you can't take tomorrow for granted.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for letting me share.
Well, thank you for having the strength to share. 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been quite so open to doing that.
Right. Yeah.
And we don't
Struggle
realize,
alone. Yeah. And you don't have to.
because we think that by bringing it forward, we're just asking for others. And in some cases, it's actually supporting others or affirming that which others have gone through. So we do have a little soul candy to close out this episode because we've been a little deep. We've been a little dark today. What's your soul candy today, Summer?
Soul candy, I want to show and tell and share with you guys. And this is actually very nerdy. If you can't tell, no problem. I'm about to tell you what it is anyway. And that is my fancy new library card. You guys, so it's just one of those underestimated, wonderful services that you take for granted. A lot of people, some utilize it, but for those like me who just, for whatever reason, I stumbled upon an opportunity where I needed access to some databases. And now that I'm no longer a student in college, I don't have that at my disposal. And a friend of mine was like, well, you can do the library. And I was like, oh yeah, duh. And so Renew got me a new library card, my first one in like 10 years. And I was telling Cynthia in another conversation, while I was there signing up, getting my card, I just wanted to walk around. And even though it's in limited capacity in terms of how you can use it, you can get things online and all that. But it was just amazing to walk around row by row. I literally walked row by row and just inhaled the smell of old books.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a tactile experience. And shout out to all the librarians who have had their own year of trying to do what is their mission. I mean, these are women and men who are expert at finding and serving and appreciating books and knowledge with everyone who comes into the library, some needing more assistance than others. So shout out to all the librarians out there.
Yes. Go visit our local library. We love you.
Yes. Yes. And I'm pulling stuff from the Chicago Public Library all the time. Very, very pleased with all of the services that they have to offer in person and online. My soul candy is something that I guess I'm getting a little bit online. It's through Peacock. So we get Peacock as part of our Xfinity package. And Peacock is airing all of 30 Rock. What a wonderful series that was. And even though it's a little dated because that was, most of them are carrying flip phones and, it was the very earliest days of really having a smartphone. It was so well written and so well performed. And they have, we'll never see the blackface episode that Tina Fey felt was so important to remove from the catalog. But in general, they hit some timely topics of the late aughts and early tens. And it's just so clever. It's just so well written.
It was a good show. I need to revisit that as well.
So we're enjoying it a lot, and that's
your soul.
It's kind of what we're doing. Yeah, we don't get to it every night, but we'll watch. It's just 22 minutes of good fun. It kind of leaves you with a sense that tomorrow's going to be a better day, and so
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. All right, your hair's looking great.
Thank you, darling. Thank you. Shout out to Kira, my cousin.
All right, well, we've shared this with you. We do also have to say that we have a viewer who watched our Toastmasters episode. where we talked about the summer doing online Toastmasters, and I did it in person at the Best Buy headquarters in Richfield, Minnesota, almost 10 years ago. And so somebody watched us, decided we were credible testimonials, and now she has signed into her company's Toastmaster group. And so I texted her back and I said, I think you're going to have a fun time.
Absolutely. We love stories like that. You guys don't be shy. If there is anything we've talked about that has moved you to action, you need to let us know. Hello. There's an email right below.
Summer
And a
Cynthia
comment.
Show at Gmail. It's nothing fancy, but we do check the box.
We do. And so we thank you as always for lending us your ear and your eyes. Hope you got something out of it. We enjoyed doing this and we look forward to seeing you.
Subscribe, let your friends know that you have this little session with us every couple of weeks. Catch up on our past episodes. We're talking about something all the time.
You just never know what you're going to get, darling.
You don't know, But most importantly, we're here for you. And Summer, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Peace out.